This morning, New York Senator Chuck Schumer is calling on the FDA to investigate the energy drink Prime, which he says is being marketed to children and contains the caffeine equivalent of 6 cans of Coca-Cola.
This morning, there's a new warning for parents and kids about energy drinks. Maybe you've seen Prime Energy on social media.
Yeah, Brandy Smith explains why the drink is getting so much negative attention. Schools are actually banning it.
A year ago, Prime wasn't just a drink, it was a status symbol. Kids weren't sipping it, they were flexing it. Hallways turned into marketplaces. Parents were running from store to store like it was Black Friday. Shelves were empty within minutes, and resellers were charging absurd prices for a single bottle of blue raspberry. For a brief moment, Prime had crossed the line from beverage to obsession. But hype is fragile. And when Prime started to crack, it didn't fade quietly. It unraveled publicly, messily, and fast. What once looked like the future of sports drinks spiraled into lawsuits, school bans, government scrutiny, broken partnerships, and a brutal collapse in demand. In less than 2 years, Prime went from billion-dollar breakout to clearance aisle punchline. This is how it happened. To understand the downfall, you have to understand just how explosive the rise was. Prime didn't roll out with a normal product launch. It arrived like a cultural event. In January 2022, internet heavyweights Logan Paul and KSI, once rivals, now business partners, introduced Prime Hydration to the world. On paper, it was positioned as a cleaner, healthier sports drink meant to challenge giants like Gatorade, Body Armor, and Powerade. But the formula inside the bottle wasn't the real advantage. The followers across YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. While traditional beverage companies burned through massive ad budgets, Prime simply turned its creators into the campaign motion. The drink didn't need commercials, it was content. The branding was engineered for virality, neon colors, aggressive fonts, high contrast labels that looked less like hydration and more like a video game cosmetic. Prime didn't resemble a sports drink. It looked like something pulled straight out of Fortnite or Roblox. Artificial scarcity. Prime was deliberately hard to find in its early months. Supply was restricted and demand was whipped into a frenzy. Grocery stores were mobbed. Videos went viral of people sprinting down aisles. Kids traded bottles at school like collectibles. Resellers flipped flavors for $50, $75, even $100. Entire supermarkets gained online clout just for restocking. It wasn't. By mid-2023, Prime reportedly crossed $1.2 billion in global retail sales. The brand secured massive legitimacy plays, landing partnerships with Arsenal Football Club and the Ultimate Fighting. It wasn't athletes, it wasn't marathon runners, gym enthusiasts, or people serious about hydration science. It was kids, teenagers, young fans treating bottles like Pokemon cards, not performance fuel. That alone wasn't fatal, but it made what came next inevitable. Then Prime Energy entered the picture. This is where everything shifted. Prime Energy launched with nearly identical branding, same loud colors, same bold bottles, same visual language. The only difference was what was inside, 200 milligrams of caffeine per can. That's roughly 6 cans of Coke, about 2 Red Bulls, nearly 2 cans of Monster Energy. For adults, that's strong. For kids, that's a problem. Yet nothing about the packaging made that distinction obvious. Prime Energy looked almost indistinguishable from Prime Hydration. Same aesthetic, same influencer-driven hype, same TikToks showing cases being stacked, crushed, and flexed. To a parent or a child, it all looked like the same product line. The backlash was immediate. Parents panicked, doctors spoke out, pediatricians warned publicly that the caffeine levels were unsafe for children. Schools didn't just discourage it, they banned it outright. UK schools, Australian schools, multiple school districts across the United States all place Prime Energy on do not bring lists, not consume responsibly, not recommended for adults only, flat out prohibited. And once schools and doctors turned against the brand, the illusion shattered. Prime was no longer just a fun influencer drink. It became a headline risk. From there, the momentum reversed. Fast. What once felt unstoppable began to look careless. The same strategies that fueled Prime's rise, youth-focused branding, hype-driven scarcity, influencer amplification, now worked against it. Parents stopped buying, schools shut it out, regulators started paying attention, demand cooled, shelves stayed full.
This morning, New York Senator Chuck Schumer is calling on the FDA to investigate the energy drink Prime, which he says is being marketed to children and contains the caffeine equivalent of 6 cans of Coca-Cola.
Logan Paul tried to control the narrative. He said Prime Energy was made for adults, even claiming it clearly on his podcast. But it didn't matter. The can still looked like the coolest thing in the drink aisle. The branding was identical. The hype was aimed at the same audience that built Prime in the first place, kids. And once people noticed that contradiction, everything changed. Prime wasn't just a hydration drink anymore. It was a caffeine-loaded product disguised with kid-friendly visuals. At that moment, Prime crossed the line between hype and responsibility.
Our energy product says 18 plus on the label. It's also marketed 18 plus on every single social media we post that we do from the Prime page. And it's an industry standard amount of caffeine. It has 200 milligrams of caffeine. And that's nothing revolutionary or out of the ordinary. It's the same amount as Gatorade's Fast Twitch. It's the same amount as Celsius, and even less, 100 milligrams less than Bang Energy. What we're doing is comparable to every other competitor in the market.
Well, a small warning on the back of Prime Energy drink says the product warns it's not recommended for those under the age of 18 or people sensitive to caffeine.
And the backlash was only beginning. Once the hype cooled off, the lawsuits followed, and they came fast.
Meanwhile, in another part of Wales, a primary school blamed Prime Energy for causing a cardiac episode in a pupil. Teachers warned parents after the student had to have their stomach pumped. Prime Energy have not commented, but doctors say that they wouldn't recommend high caffeine drinks to under 18.
The first serious legal blow came with the PFAS lawsuit. A class action case accused Prime's grape hydration flavor of containing PFAS, so-called forever chemicals, that don't break down in the human body and have been linked to long-term health risks. The lawsuit claimed the detected levels exceeded California's legal limits for drinking water. Prime denied the accusations, but the damage was already done. For parents, this wasn't something to gamble on. A brand that marketed itself as clean, healthy, and better for you suddenly had toxins. That single statement became legal fuel. Lawyers argued the claim was misleading, since no food or beverage can realistically promise zero toxins. The lawsuit alleged Prime exaggerated its purity to appeal directly to kids and health-conscious parents. The third lawsuit hit harder than the rest. A family claimed their 14-year-old was hospitalized after drinking 2 cans of Prime Energy. According to the filing, the teen suffered heart palpitations, chest pain, and severe dehydration, requiring urgent care. This wasn't a lab report or a marketing debate. This was a child in a hospital bed, and instantly the conversation around Prime changed. It stopped being online controversy and became a question of physical harm. Soon after, multiple state attorneys general opened inquiries into Prime, examining whether the brand had marketed adult-level caffeine to minors using packaging that closely resembled hydration drinks and influencer campaigns popular with kids. For a company built on youth-driven hype, this was a full-scale PR disaster. Things were about to get worse, because none of those cases hit Prime as hard as the next one. The supplier lawsuit pulled back the curtain on what was really happening behind the scenes. Prime had partnered with Refresco, one of the world's largest beverage producers, to scale production. According to the lawsuit, Prime committed to massive minimum orders, reportedly promising to purchase up to 90% of an entire production line's out. To meet that demand, Refresco poured in millions. They built custom bottle molds, retooled a production facility, expanded staffing, upgraded machinery, and dedicated huge resources based on Prime's projected sales. Then the hype collapsed. Sales slowed, trends shifted, demand dried up. And according to Refresco, Prime allegedly stopped paying for the order volumes it had committed to. The manufacturer was left with millions of dollars in unused capacity, and they weren't willing to absorb the loss. Refresco sued Prime for $68 million, accusing the company of breaching its contract. But the most damaging part wasn't the lawsuit itself. It was the leaked internal emails. Emails allegedly sent by Logan Paul discussed pivoting aggressively to international markets before Prime executives who know momentum is collapsing and are trying to outrun the fallout by expanding abroad before the domestic market fully turns. And at that point, the Prime collapse was no longer theoretical. It was happening in real time.
That Prime had forever chemicals, like more than you were supposed to drink in like a lifetime, whatever. I made a TikTok debunking it, but regardless, the rumor still got out there, and like low-key the damage is done. And now, even though we're in this lawsuit, whether it's true or not, people think it. And so The lawsuit got dismissed. The plaintiff does have a chance to amend it, but she's chosen not to. She's coming back with one like really weak ass claim that's probably also going to get dismissed. But it's just like an example of like people reaching, trying to get attention, make a quick buck on a frivolous lawsuit that actually has no merit or is based in nothing, and we're not going to settle. Oh, the caffeine one, where plaintiff said there was like a crazy amount of caffeine like that didn't meet what we said on our label in Prime Energy, which is 18 plus and has 200 milligrams of caffeine. That one also got dismissed.
And when the hype faded, the numbers exposed the truth. Prime's downfall wasn't just scandal or online drama. The data showed a collapse so steep it barely looked real. Market trackers reported UK sales dropping nearly 50% between 2023 and 2024. Some retailers saw weekly Prime Energy sales fall by as much as 92%. Online reviews followed the same trajectory. On Amazon, Prime went from near 5-star ratings in early 2023 to an average of just 2.7 stars by late 2024. Customers complained about changing formulas, inconsistent quality, extreme sweetness, and strange chemical aftertaste. Search interest dropped more than 70% year over year. TikTok mentions dried up. The hype engine stalled. Resellers who once treated Prime like gold were suddenly stuck with unsellable stock. Retailers began slashing prices. 12 packs of Prime Hydration dropped from around $25 to under $10 and still didn't move. In 2023, parents were fighting over Prime in grocery stores. By 2025, stores were fighting to get rid of it. The hype wasn't cooling, it was dead. Then the government stepped in, and that's when it was over. The moment Prime drew federal attention, the brand crossed into dangerous territory. Senator Chuck Schumer sent a formal request to the Food and Drug Administration, calling for an investigation into Prime Energy's caffeine levels and marketing practices. His message summed up the controversy perfectly. The cans looked like hydration drinks, but hit like a double espresso. Suddenly, Prime was being discussed alongside alcohol and tobacco in regulatory conversations. Some retail chains began carding customers for Prime Energy. If buyers looked under 25, they needed ID. A drink that once functioned as playground currency, traded by middle schoolers like rare Pokemon cards, was now treated as an age-restricted product. In response, Logan Paul and KSI released a joint video promising cooperation with regulators, but when a Senate committee invited them to testify, neither showed up. The absence didn't just look bad, it reinforced the idea that Prime wasn't ready for real-world accountability. It's tempting to blame Prime's collapse on lawsuits or caffeine controversies, but and when criticism arrived, PR response made things worse. Instead of addressing concerns directly, the brand often dismissed backlash as hate or tried to spin it into content. Influencer bravado doesn't work on regulators. You can't charm the FDA with TikTok clips. The biggest mistake of all was building on hype alone. Hype isn't a foundation. Logan and KSI created a tidal wave, but tidal waves crash without real loyalty underneath. Once the trend cycle ended, Prime had nothing solid to stand on. Prime isn't gone. It still exists. It's still on shelves. Kids still recognize the bottle. Logan and KSI still mention it occasionally, but it's no longer disruptive. It's not a cultural moment. It's not a Gatorade killer. It's just another former hype drink sitting next to outdated Bang Energy flavors and failed celebrity beverages. Prime went from holy grail to impulse buy to clearance rack to, oh yeah, that drink. Influencers opened the door, but they couldn't keep customers walking through it. Prime was supposed to be the blueprint for creator-led businesses, proof that social media could conquer traditional industries. Instead, it became a reminder of an old truth. Hype sells fast, trust sells forever, and Prime never earned the second one. Its rise was loud, its fall was louder, and the quiet shelves at Walmart today say everything. This was the satisfying downfall of Prime.